The generator hummed in the corner of Ray's cabin, a mechanical heartbeat breaking the evening silence. He tightened the last bolt with practiced precision, wiping grease-stained hands on his worn cargo pants. Another day, another repair. Such was life in self-imposed isolation. Ray scanned his living space, the modest wooden cabin that had been his refuge for 3 years now. The walls were bare save for a faded map of the surrounding forest and a single combat knife mounted above the fireplace. Everything had its place. Rations stacked methodically in cupboards, communication equipment silenced but maintained, escape routes memorized. Old habits die hard, especially those forged in combat zones across 3 continents. As dusk settled, Reyes performed his nightly security check. He moved with quiet efficiency, checking the motion sensors hidden in the brush, ensuring his tripwires remained undisturbed at the perimeter. The forest had grown quiet, too quiet, even for this remote stretch of wilderness. No crickets chirping, no nocturnal creatures rustling through the underbrush. Something felt wrong. The distant boom came just as he was securing the back door, a concussive sound that reverberated through the trees, followed by an eerie silence. Ray's muscles tensed automatically, his body shifting into a combat stance before his mind fully processed what he'd heard. He waited, counting breaths, then moved to the window. A bright streak of light illuminated the night sky, descending rapidly toward the forest floor about a mile from his cabin. Not a meteor, its trajectory was too controlled, its speed decreasing rather than accelerating. "Damn it," he muttered, grabbing his pack, flashlight, and sidearm. Whatever had fallen was likely to draw attention, the kind of attention he'd escaped to these woods to avoid. The trek through dense forest took him nearly 40 minutes, guided by the faint glow and thin trail of smoke rising above the tree line. What he found wasn't a meteorite, but rather a small craft, roughly the size of an SUV. Its metallic surface gleamed with an unnatural luster, material unlike any aircraft he recognized from his military days. The hull was cracked along one side, releasing wisps of vapor that smelled faintly of ozone. Reyes approached cautiously, weapon drawn. The craft bore no recognizable insignia or markings, no nation's flag, no corporate logo. Then he saw her, half ejected from what appeared to be a single-occupant cockpit. A woman lay unconscious across fragments of shattered glass and twisted metal. Her torn clothing revealed skin with a faint lavender hue, and her features, while humanoid, carried subtle differences. Higher cheekbones, eyes slightly larger than human norm, ears that tapered to elegant points. Her body radiated heat that Reyes could feel from several feet away. A steady beeping emanated from a control panel inside the craft, growing more rapid with each passing second. Military instinct took over. Threat assessment. Imminent explosion. Objective. Extract survivor. Reyes holstered his weapon and moved in, carefully lifting the unconscious woman away from the wreckage. She was lighter than expected despite her height matching his own. Her skin burned against his, not unpleasantly, but noticeably warmer than human temperature. He'd barely made it 20 yards when the craft erupted in a flash of blue-white light. The shockwave knocked him forward, sending both him and his burden tumbling to the forest floor. He curled protectively around her as debris rained down, feeling the heat of the explosion at his back. When the chaos subsided, Reyes looked down at his unconscious charge. A thin bracelet encircled her wrist, pulsing with soft blue light. Near her collarbone, partially hidden by torn fabric, was what appeared to be a chip or small device embedded beneath her skin. "Who are you?" he whispered, knowing no answer would come. As if in response, her eyelids fluttered, revealing irises of deep amethyst. Her lips moved, forming words in a language he couldn't understand, before shifting to broken English. "They will come. They will kill you." Her eyes closed again as unconsciousness reclaimed her. Reyes scanned the forest, suddenly aware of how exposed they were. The explosion would attract attention, both official and otherwise. Decision made, he gathered her in his arms and began the trek back to his cabin. Whatever storm this woman was bringing, It was already too late to avoid it. From the wreckage of the craft, a faint signal pulsed outward, invisible, relentless, carrying coordinates across vast distances to those who were already hunting. Ray stood at his cabin window, watching shadows lengthen across the forest floor. Something in the air had changed. The pleasant isolation of his woodland refuge now felt like a trap, with walls closing in and nowhere to run. He glanced back at the alien woman lying on his cot, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths, her skin still radiating unnatural heat. He had medical supplies, enough for basic human trauma, but what good would they do for someone who wasn't human at all? "What the hell have I gotten myself into?" he murmured, checking his sidearm before returning to keep watch at the window. Whatever was coming, he'd face it head on. He always did. Morning light filtered through dusty blinds when Athena finally stirred. Her eyes snapped open, darting frantically around the unfamiliar surroundings. She bolted upright with a startled cry, then doubled over as pain lanced through her abdomen. "Easy," came a deep voice from across the room. "You've got 3 cracked ribs and a nasty gash on your left side." The man, human, she realized with shock, stood by the doorway, arms crossed over a broad chest. Military posture, observant eyes, weapon within easy reach. Threat assessment. Dangerous, but not immediately hostile. Where she began, her translator implant struggling to convert her native Dryalian language to Earth English. "Where's my vessel?" "If you mean your ship, it exploded shortly after I pulled you from it." He took a step closer, movements deliberate and non-threatening. "I embrace. You're in my cabin, about 20 miles from the nearest town." Athena's hand instinctively went to the implant beneath her collarbone, still intact though damaged. Relief flooded her, followed immediately by dread. If her vessel's emergency beacon had activated upon impact. "I need to leave," she said, attempting to stand. Her body betrayed her, legs buckling as a wave of dizziness struck. Rays moved with surprising speed, catching her before she hit the floor. The moment their skin made contact, something remarkable happened. The painful heat building in her core, a biological reaction to Earth's atmosphere and her injuries, suddenly stabilized. Athena gasped, looking up at the human with astonishment. "You, how are you doing that?" she whispered. Ray's expression showed his confusion. "Doing what?" "I just caught you." "The thermal regulation. You're absorbing my excess energy output." She stared at him with new interest. That should be impossible for a human. He helped her back to the cot, maintaining contact longer than necessary, seeming to sense her discomfort receding. "I think you need to explain who you are and what's happening, starting with why you crashed in my backyard." Athena hesitated, calculating risks. This human had saved her life. Perhaps he deserved some truth. "My name is Athena. I come from Dryalis, a world in what you would call the Cetus constellation." She watched his face, searching for disbelief or fear and finding neither. "I fled my planet because I discovered something the regime, our governing body, wanted kept hidden." "The regime," Reyes repeated, his tone suggesting familiar territory. "Military dictatorship? Worse, they've developed technology to harvest energy directly from our citizens. Energy that is biological to our species. What began as a solution to our planet's energy crisis has become systemic exploitation." Her voice hardened. "They're literally draining people to power luxury districts and military operations." Ray's expression darkened. "Sounds familiar. Different methods, same old story." "You're a soldier," she observed. He corrected. "Special forces. Until I saw too much and questioned too many orders." Athena nodded, recognizing a kindred spirit. "I was an energy systems engineer. When I discovered what they were doing with my research," she cut herself off as a sudden wave of heat coursed through her body. Her skin began to glow faintly, a warning sign of thermoregulation failure. Without hesitation, Reyes placed his hand on her arm. The heat dissipated instantly. "This reaction," he said, "is this normal for your kind?" Athena shook her head. "We Dryalians have a unique biology. We require biological synchronization with compatible organisms to regulate our thermal energy. On my world, we have companion creatures for this purpose. Here, she gestured at their point of contact. Somehow, you're compatible. Extraordinarily so. Lucky me, Ray's muttered but didn't pull away. Their moment of connection was interrupted by a sharp sound from outside. The metallic snap of one of Ray's perimeter traps being triggered. His posture changed instantly, tension radiating through his frame. "They found me," Athena whispered, terror evident in her voice. Rays moved to the window, peering carefully through a narrow gap in the blinds. 3 figures at the tree line. Not local law enforcement. Their gear is too advanced. He turned back to her, decision already made. "Can you move?" She nodded, forcing herself to stand despite the pain. "I can manage." "Good. We got 2 minutes to gather essentials and get to the escape tunnel." He was already in motion, collecting weapons, supplies, a first aid kit. His efficiency spoke of years of training and experience. "Who exactly is after you?" "Strike team operators. Elite hunters from the regime. They'll have tracked my vessel's emergency beacon." Athena helped as best she could, stuffing supplies into a backpack Ray's handed her. "They won't stop until they recapture me or confirm my death." Ray's checked the magazine on his sidearm before holstering it. "Why are you so valuable to them?" Athena touched the device near her collarbone. "Because I carry proof of their crimes and the kill switch that could disable their entire energy harvesting system." Before Ray's could respond, a flash of red light swept across the cabin's exterior, scanning technology. They ducked below window level instinctively. "Too late for the front exit," Ray's whispered, grabbing her hand and pulling her toward the back of the cabin. He pressed against a section of wall that swung inward, revealing a narrow passage. "This way. Stay close." They descended into darkness, Ray sealing the hidden door behind them. The tunnel was crude but effective, barely wide enough for them to move single file. The cool earth surrounding them muffled sounds from above. Athena felt another thermal spike building. In the confined space, with the stress of pursuit, her biology was rebelling. She reached forward, grasping Ray's arm. The relief was immediate, her energy flowing into him, absorbed harmlessly. "Sorry," she whispered. "I can't control it." "It's fine," he responded, though she noted the slight tremor in his voice. The energy transfer affected him too, though differently. "How often will this happen?" "More frequently under stress." "Without you." She left the implications unspoken. Her kind could survive periods without synchronization, but eventually, the energy buildup would become critical. Fatal. They emerged from the tunnel nearly half a mile from the cabin, in a dense thicket that provided immediate cover. Rays gestured for silence, pointing toward a rocky outcropping that would provide better vantage. From their elevated position, they could see figures moving around Ray's cabin. Humanoid in shape, but with distinctive armor unlike anything Earth manufactured. Their movements were methodical, practiced. One of them spoke in dry alien, the words carrying clearly in the quiet forest. "We will have her before dawn." Rays didn't need a translation to understand the threat. He surveyed their options, eyes calculating distances and escape routes. "We need to put more distance between us and them. There's an old ranger station about 5 miles north. We can regroup there, figure out next steps." Athena nodded, but worry clouded her features. "I'm sorry I brought this to your doorstep." "I made my choice when I pulled you from that wreckage," he replied simply. "Let's move." They traveled in silence through deepening shadows as night fell, the forest growing denser. Twice they froze at sounds of pursuit, but each time the danger passed. Athena's condition worsened as exhaustion set in, requiring more frequent contact with Rays to stabilize her energy levels. Each time, the connection between them seemed to strengthen, something neither fully understood passing between them. By midnight, they reached the abandoned ranger station, little more than a weathered shelter with a rusted tin roof. Rays secured the perimeter while Athena collapsed onto a bench inside, her lavender skin now flushed with dangerous heat. "They're getting closer," she whispered when he returned. "I can sense them. My energy signature leaves a trail they can follow." Rays checked his weapons, face grim. Then we make a stand here, or we keep moving. Your call. I can't run much further, she admitted. Not tonight. Decision made. Rays began fortifying their position, using his military training to create defensive positions, escape routes, improvised traps. Athena watched him work, impressed by his adaptability despite her guilt at involving him in her struggle. As they settled in for a few hours of rest, taking shifts to keep watch, Athena found herself studying this human who had so unexpectedly become her lifeline. There was a darkness behind his eyes, not malevolence, but the shadow of past battles, of losses that had driven him to seek solitude. "Why did you leave your military?" she asked quietly during her watch shift. Reyes was silent so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he spoke, voice low. "My last mission went sideways. Civilians died because someone high up had a political agenda. When I reported it, I became the problem." His jaw tightened. "So I disappeared before they could make me disappear." Athena nodded. "On Dryalis, dissent is even less tolerated. Those who resist the energy harvesting are themselves drained completely. A public example. And you were part of creating this system?" Unknowingly at first. Shame colored her voice. "By the time I realized the full extent, I was too deep in the program to simply walk away. So I planned carefully, gathered evidence, stole the access codes." Her hand went to the implant beneath her skin. "Everything needed to expose them is here." Dawn was just beginning to lighten the sky when they heard it, the unmistakable sound of branches snapping under heavy boots. "Not animals. Hunters. They found us," Rays whispered, weapon already in hand. "Stay low. When I give the signal, head for the north exit." The first attacker came from the east side, a figure in sleek armor that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Rays waited until the precise moment, then fired twice. The first shot was deflected by some kind of energy shield, but the second found a gap in the armor, dropping the attacker. The forest erupted into chaos. Return fire. Energy weapons rather than ballistics scorched the walls of the ranger station. Rays maneuvered with the precision of a veteran, taking down a second attacker with a well-placed shot. Athena wasn't defenseless. From her pack, she retrieved a small device, a Dryalian disruptor, damaged but functional. When a third attacker burst through the door, she activated it, sending the hunter convulsing to the floor as his nervous system short-circuited. "Now!" Ray shouted, providing covering fire as they made for the exit. They were halfway to the tree line when disaster struck. An energy pulse caught Athena in the leg, sending her tumbling to the ground with a cry of pain. Rays doubled back, dragging her behind the shelter of a fallen tree as more shots impacted around them. "Go," she gasped, the wound already causing dangerous energy fluctuations in her system. "They want me, not you." "Not happening," Rays growled, returning fire to keep their attackers at bay. But they were pinned down, outnumbered. Athena felt it building. The catastrophic energy surge her biology had been designed to prevent. Without proper stabilization, the pain and stress were triggering a cascade failure. Her skin began to glow bright violet, heat radiating outward in visible waves. "Rays," she whispered, terror in her voice. "I can't control it. The surge, it will kill everything nearby." Understanding dawned in his eyes. Without hesitation, he pulled her against him, wrapping his arms around her as if he could physically contain the energy threatening to explode outward. The contact was electric, more intense than any previous synchronization. Athena gasped as Ray's biorhythms forcefully aligned with hers, drawing her excess energy into himself at a dangerous rate. It was too much, too fast, the connection deeper than any she'd experienced. "You're too deep. I can't take it anymore," she cried out, torn between the relief his touch provided and the fear that he would be consumed by the energy he was absorbing. "You'll burn with me. Then we burn together," he answered through gritted teeth, holding her tighter as the energy transfer intensified. "I'm not letting go." Something extraordinary happened then. Instead of destroying them both, the energy reached equilibrium. Ray's body somehow channeled the excess energy, his military-enhanced physiology adapting to the alien biology in ways neither could have anticipated. The violet glow enveloped them both, then expanded outward in a controlled wave. The strike team members caught in the perimeter were thrown backward, their systems overloaded by the energy pulse. Equipment sparked and failed. For a moment, silence descended on the forest. Reyes looked down at Athena, both of them shaking from the intensity of what had just occurred. Something fundamental had changed between them, a bond forged in this moment of crisis that neither fully understood. "How did you do that?" she whispered, her hand against his chest where she could feel his rapid heartbeat. "I didn't," he answered honestly. "We did." They had no time to process this new development. More strike team members will be coming. Reyes helped Athena to her feet, supporting her weight as they fled deeper into the forest, away from the paths, toward the mountainous region where the density of vegetation would provide better cover. By nightfall, they had reached an abandoned mining shelter carved into the mountainside. Little more than a cave with crude reinforcements, but defensible and hidden from aerial surveillance. Exhaustion claimed them both. Athena's wound had partially healed, another benefit of their energy synchronization, but the day's events had depleted them. They collapsed inside, Reyes checking the perimeter one final time before settling beside her. Without discussion, they remained in contact, her shoulder against his arm. The energy flow between them now a gentle current rather than the dangerous surge of before. Athena awoke in the middle of the night to find herself nestled against Reyes' chest, his arm protectively around her shoulders. For a moment, she tensed, unaccustomed to such intimacy, especially with a species not her own. Yet she couldn't deny the profound sense of safety his proximity provided. Beyond the biological necessity, there was comfort in his steady presence. She studied his sleeping face, the hard lines softened in rest. What must it be like, she wondered, to be thrust into an interplanetary conflict overnight? To risk everything for a stranger who had literally fallen from the sky? Sensing her gaze, Rey's eyes opened, instantly alert. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," she said softly. "I was just thinking about the path that brought us here. The randomness of it all." "Random?" He shook his head slightly. "Your ship could have crashed anywhere on this planet. Instead, it found the one human who apparently can keep you from going nuclear." A rare smile touched his lips. "I stopped believing in coincidence a long time ago." The intimacy of the moment hung between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. Athena felt herself drawn closer to him, curious about this connection that transcended biology. "On Dryalis," she said quietly, "we have a concept called soul resonance, when two beings' energy patterns align so perfectly that they become something greater together than apart. It's rare, almost mystical." Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. "Always thought it was just a romantic myth." Reyes caught her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "And now," instead of answering, she leaned forward, pressing her lips to his. The contact sent a cascade of sensations through them both. Not just the energy synchronization they'd come to expect, but something deeper, more primal. Human and alien, separated by light years of evolution, but connected in this perfect moment. When they finally pulled apart, Athena's eyes glittered with emotion. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Not of the regime, not even of dying. I'm afraid of what I'm becoming with you. Of this connection I can't control or understand. Fear keeps us alive," Reyes said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "But it can't be what drives us." Their conversation shifted to what lay ahead. Running wasn't a solution. The strike team would keep coming, and eventually they would succeed. "There's a communications relay station they must be using," Reyes theorized. "Standard operating procedure for off-grid operations. Find it, and we might be able to not just evade them, but turn the tables." Athena sat up straighter, idea forming. "If I could access their communications network, I could trace it back to their command center. Perhaps even send a message to my contacts in the resistance. Then we've got our next move." Reyes began checking their supplies, shifting seamlessly into tactical planning mode. "First light, we go hunting." As dawn broke, they set out with renewed purpose. No longer just fleeing, but actively seeking to disrupt their pursuers' operations. Reyes taught Athena Earth combat techniques to complement her technical knowledge, while she explained more about dry alien technology, knowledge that might give them an edge. They located the relay station by midday, a seemingly ordinary communications tower on a remote hillside, but with subtle modifications that marked it as alien technology masquerading as human infrastructure. 2 guards patrolled the perimeter, wearing civilian clothes, but moving with military precision. Disguised strike team, Athena whispered as they observed from cover. The relay will have the location of their primary base, and possibly a direct channel to Dryalis. Reyes nodded, formulating a plan. I'll create a diversion east of the compound. When they investigate, you slip in and access their systems. Their encryption will be high level, she warned. Can you crack it? She smiled, confidence flashing. I designed part of their security architecture. I left myself backdoors. The plan worked flawlessly at first. Reyes carefully orchestrated distraction. A series of small explosions and movement triggers drew the guards away from their posts. Athena slipped inside, hands moving with practiced efficiency over alien technology disguised beneath Earth components. I'm in, she whispered through the communicator Reyes had given her, downloading their command structure, and she cut off suddenly. Reyes, it's worse than we thought. This isn't just a hunting party. They're bringing in a full extraction team. A ship is already en route. How long do we have? Hours, not days. There! A warning alarm blared through the station. They've detected the breach. Get what you can and get out, Reyes ordered, already moving to provide backup. Athena worked frantically, downloading critical data to her implant. Just as she finished, the door burst open. Not the perimeter guards, but a tall figure in commander's armor, sleeker, more advanced than the strike team members. Engineer Athena, the figure said in dry alien, removing his helmet to reveal features similar to her own. The regime expected better from their brightest scientist than to consort with. Primitive species. Commander Nix, she replied coldly. Still doing the regime's dirty work, I see. I prefer to think of it as protecting our way of life. He stepped closer. That data you carry belongs to the regime. The evidence of mass exploitation belongs to our people. Her hand moved subtly toward the disruptor at her hip. The commander was faster, knocking the weapon from her grasp. Always so righteous. Did you tell your human pet what will happen to his world once ours discovers its resources? How the regime will drain this planet dry, just as they have regions of Dryalis. A shot rang out from behind him. Reyes at the doorway, weapon trained on the commander's head. The bullet impacted an energy shield, dissipating harmlessly. Primitive weapons, the commander sneered, turning to face this new threat. The distraction was enough. Athena grabbed a power coupling from the console and jammed it into the base of the commander's neck, a vulnerable point in the armor. Electricity coursed through him, not enough to kill, but sufficient to incapacitate. Go, she shouted to Reyes, bolting for the exit. They fled into the forest as alarms continued to sound behind them. Reyes took a glancing hit from an energy weapon, the blast burning through his jacket and searing the skin beneath. Athena supported him as they pushed deeper into cover. Miles later, when they finally stopped to assess the damage, Athena examined his wound with concern. This needs treatment. First tell me what you found, Reyes insisted, wincing as she applied a field dressing from their supplies. Coordinates of their base camp, communications protocols, and something unexpected, a message from Dr. Valen, one of the resistance leaders. Hope sparked in her eyes. He's here, Reyes, on Earth, with a ship that could take us back to Dryalis. Back? Why would you want to go back to the planet you escaped from? Because that's where the central control system is located. The data I carry can shut it down, but must be uploaded directly to their mainframe. Her expression grew serious. It would mean leaving Earth, facing the heart of the regime's power. I can't ask that of you. Reyes looked at her for a long moment, decision forming behind his eyes. When do we leave? You don't understand what you're offering, Athena protested. Dryalis is nothing like Earth. The regime controls everything. If we're caught, I understand exactly what I'm offering, he cut her off. This stopped being just your fight when they came to my planet. Besides, his hand found hers, the energy connection between them pulsing with now familiar warmth. We've established I'm not much good to you at interplanetary distances. Relief and gratitude flooded her features, followed quickly by determination. Then we need to reach the coordinates Dr. Valen sent. He's hidden his ship in a remote valley 50 miles north. If we can reach him before the extraction team fully mobilizes, then let's not waste time. Reyes checked his weapon, mentally calculating their odds. One more battle, one more extraction, just like old times. Except the extraction is to another planet. Athena reminded him, a ghost of a smile on her lips despite the gravity of their situation. Details, he shrugged, the gesture so uniquely human it made her heart ache with newfound affection. They traveled through the night, pushing themselves to the limits of endurance. Twice they encountered strike team scouts and were forced to engage. Each time, the synchronization between them grew stronger, more intuitive. Reyes anticipating Athena's movements, she instinctively covering his blind spots. They were becoming a formidable unit, human and Dryalian abilities complementing each other. Dawn found them at the edge of the valley Dr. Valen had specified. After careful reconnaissance, they spotted what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse, too perfectly maintained to actually be deserted. That's it, Athena confirmed, recognizing subtle signs of Dryalian technology disguised within the Earth structure. Dr. Valen always was a master of camouflage. They approached cautiously, aware they were at their most vulnerable in these final steps of their journey. A hidden scanner bathed them in faint blue light. Then the warehouse door slid open silently. Inside, the spacious interior revealed its true nature. A hangar housing a sleek vessel approximately 3 times the size of Athena's crashed ship. A tall, elderly Dryalian emerged from the craft, his expression brightening at the sight of Athena. Engineer Athena, he greeted her in their native tongue. We feared the worst when your beacon went silent. Dr. Valen, she responded with evident relief. The regime's reach extends further than we thought. They've established a base here, with more forces incoming. The elderly scientist's gaze shifted to Reyes, curiosity in his eyes. And this is Reyes, she said, switching to English out of respect. Without him, I wouldn't have survived. He's coming with us. Dr. Valen studied the human with interest, noticing the subtle energy exchange occurring where Reyes and Athena's hands met. Fascinating. A compatible biological synchronization with a human. The odds against such compatibility are astronomical. As I keep being reminded, Reyes said dryly, how soon can we leave? There's an extraction team closing in. Immediately, the ship is fueled and ready. Dr. Valen gestured them inside. I've been monitoring regime communications. Their main force arrives within 12 hours. As they boarded the vessel, Reyes hesitated momentarily at the threshold, his last chance to reconsider leaving his world behind. Athena sensed his hesitation, understanding the magnitude of what he was sacrificing. You can still stay, she offered quietly. Find safety elsewhere on your planet. This isn't your war. Reyes looked at her, then at the alien technology surrounding them, so far removed from the simple life he'd carved out in his forest cabin. Finally, he stepped forward, decision made. Let's go start a revolution, he said simply. The journey to Dryalis took less time than Reyes expected. Dr. Valen's ship utilizing technology far beyond human understanding to traverse the vast distances between stars. During the voyage, they strategized, Athena and Dr. Valen explaining the political landscape they would be facing, the resistance forces that had grown in Athena's absence. The evidence you carry has already inspired hope, Dr. Valen told her. Small rebellions have broken out in the outer districts. The regime's control is beginning to fracture. Not fast enough, Athena replied grimly. They're already looking to Earth as their next energy source. If we don't shut down the main harvesting system, your planet will be next, she added, looking at Reyes. Their first glimpse of Dryalis was breathtaking, a world of vibrant purple oceans and land masses in shades of deep blue and green, encircled by rings of crystalline debris that caught the light of its sun. As they approached, however, the beauty gave way to the reality of occupation. Vast domed cities where the privileged lived in luxury, surrounded by sprawling districts where energy harvesting facilities dominated the landscape. Dr. Valen piloted them to a concealed landing site in a mountain range where resistance forces had established a hidden base. They were met by a diverse group of Dryalians, some bearing the signs of partial energy drainage, others clearly military defectors based on their bearing. Reyes stood out starkly, the only human in a gathering of aliens, his biology both fascinating and suspicious to the resistance fighters. It was Athena's steady presence at his side and their obvious synchronization that gradually won acceptance. The resistance leaders gathered in a war room carved from the mountain itself, displays showing surveillance of the central energy matrix, the heart of the regime's power, both literally and figuratively. The matrix is housed beneath the regime's central command, a resistance strategist explained, protected by multiple security layers and a full battalion of elite guards. Frontal assault would be suicide, another added. Not an assault, Athena countered, calling up schematics from her implant. Infiltration. I still have access codes to the lower research levels. If we could get a small team inside, we can upload the shutdown protocol directly to the mainframe. Even with your codes, security will be tighter than when you left. The regime knows you escaped with sensitive data, Dr. Valen cautioned. That's why we create a diversion, Reyes interjected, studying the complex with a tactician's eye. Your forces attack here. He pointed to an outlying power substation, drawing away security. A small team infiltrates during the chaos. The room fell silent, resistance fighters looking at the human with new respect. It could work, the strategist finally acknowledged. But whoever goes and will likely not come out. The shutdown would trigger fail-safes, lockdowns. I'll go, Athena said immediately. It has to be me. The data is keyed to my genetic signature. Then I'm going with you, Reyes stated, his tone allowing no argument. Their eyes met, a silent communication passing between them. They would face this final challenge together, as they had every obstacle since her crash landing. The plan took shape over the next 12 hours. The resistance provided weapons, communication devices, and most crucially, detailed intelligence on regime patrol patterns. Reyes absorbed everything, adapting his Earth military training to this alien landscape with remarkable flexibility. Their energy weapons have significant impact, but slower firing rates than your projectile weapons, explained the Resistance's weapons specialist, handing Reyes a modified Dryalian pistol. This has been calibrated to your biology. It will respond to your touch alone. Throughout the preparations, Athena noticed Reyes' occasional look of wonder, moments when the reality of being on an alien planet seemed to truly register. Yet he never faltered, never questioned his decision to follow her across the stars. During a rare, quiet moment before deployment, she found him on an observation platform, gazing at the unfamiliar constellations in Dryalis's night sky. Having second thoughts? She asked softly, joining him at the railing. Just looking for Earth, he replied. Dr. Valen pointed it out earlier, barely visible from here. Athena followed his gaze to the distant point of light. If we succeed tomorrow, your world remains safe from the regime. If we fail, we won't fail. His certainty was unwavering. He turned to her, expression serious. There's something I need to ask. This connection between us, this synchronization, is it temporary? If we shut down the harvesting system, will it change what's happening between us? The question caught her off guard. She hadn't considered the future beyond their mission. I don't know, she admitted. The synchronization itself is biological, independent of the harvesting technology. But its intensity, she placed her hand on his chest, feeling the now familiar energy flow between them. This is unprecedented. There are no studies, no precedents. Reyes covered her hand with his own. Then we'll write our own precedent. Dawn broke over the mountain range in hues of amber and deep magenta, casting long shadows across the valley where resistance forces mobilized. The attack force departed first. 3 squadrons of fighters headed for the power substation with orders to create maximum disruption without inflicting civilian casualties. Athena, Reyes, and 2 resistance specialists followed an hour later, taking a circuitous route toward the central energy matrix. They traveled in a ground vehicle designed to mimic regime transport, their presence concealed beneath false identification signals. As they approached the capital city with its towering structures and massive energy conduits, Reyes observed the contrasts of Dryalian society. The gleaming efficiency of the central districts versus the drained, diminished quality of the outer zones where energy harvesting took its toll on the population. It wasn't always like this, Athena said, noting his observations. Before the energy crisis, before the regime's solution. Her voice hardened. Today we take it back. Their transport passed through 2 security checkpoints without incident, Athena's stolen access codes still functioning. By midday, they had reached the outer perimeter of the central matrix complex, a massive structure that pulsed with harvested energy, surrounded by concentric rings of security. The comm device chirped with a coded signal. The diversion was beginning. In the distance, explosions rocked the power substation. Alarms blared throughout the complex as security forces mobilized toward the threat. Their transport slipped through the thinning security cordon, reaching a maintenance entrance at the complex's rear. From here, we go on foot, one of the resistance specialists whispered, disabling the transport's tracking beacon. They moved swiftly through service corridors, Athena leading with unerring certainty despite years away. The rush of personnel toward the emergency left many sections understaffed, allowing them to penetrate deeper into the facility than they had dared hope. The central mainframe is 3 levels down, Athena explained as they reached a restricted elevator. Once we're inside, we'll have approximately 4 minutes before security protocols recognize the breach. Then we work fast, Reyes said, checking his weapon. The elevator descended smoothly, opening onto a dimly lit corridor lined with pulsing energy conduits. At the end stood a massive door, the entrance to the mainframe chamber. Athena approached the security panel, pressing her palm against the scanner. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then the panel glowed green, the massive door sliding open with a pneumatic hiss. They never removed my access, she breathed. Arrogance or oversight? Either way, their mistake, Reyes replied, covering their advance into the chamber. The mainframe was a towering construct of crystalline components and energy fields, the technological heart of the regime's power. Athena moved to the central console, her fingers flying across interfaces as she prepared to upload the shutdown protocol. Perimeter secure, 1 resistance fighter reported, taking position at the door. 60 seconds to upload completion, Athena announced, the data flowing from her implant into the system. The process was nearly complete when the alarms changed tone, a higher, more urgent sound. They've detected us, the 2nd resistance fighter warned. Security override in progress. Athena worked. Faster, eyes fixed on the progress indicator. 30 seconds. The door to the chamber slammed shut, emergency locks engaging. Overhead lights shifted to a pulsing red. A mechanical voice announced in Dryalian, unauthorized access detected. Purge protocol initiated. What's happening? Reyes demanded, sensing the new threat. They're activating the chamber's defense system, Athena explained, still working. It will flood the room with concentrated energy, enough to overwhelm even a Dryalian's capacity. How long? 2 minutes. Upload needs 45 seconds. Her expression was grim. It's going to be close. The resistance fighters took defensive positions, though there was no physical enemy to fight. The chamber itself had become their adversary. Energy began to build along the walls, crackling with increasing intensity. 20 seconds to upload completion, Athena reported, sweat beading on her forehead as the rising energy in the room began to affect her biology. The surge is starting. Reyes moved to her side, placing his hand on her shoulder, taking some of the building energy into himself. The effect was immediate. Athena's hand steadied, her focus sharpened. 10 seconds, she counted down. Almost there. The energy in the room intensified, becoming visible as rippling waves through the air. The resistance fighters buckled first, their protective gear insufficient against this concentrated assault. Essential functions. The revolution had begun with a power vacuum, literal and figurative. "We did it," Athena whispered, looking up at Reyes with wonder. His skin glowed faintly with absorbed energy, his eyes brighter than human norm. The synchronization had changed him, just as it had changed her. "How do you feel?" "Different," he admitted, examining his hands where energy still coursed just beneath the skin. "But alive. Very much alive." They made their way through the disabled complex, gathering up their fallen resistance companions who had survived the surge. Outside, chaos reigned, but constructive chaos, as regime forces found themselves suddenly without their technological advantage, faced with a population ready for change. Dr. Valen met them at the rendezvous point, his face lighting with joy at their success. "The outer districts are already rising up. The regime's hold is breaking hour by hour." "And Commander Nix?" Athena asked. "Captured by resistance forces when he tried to flee the complex, along with most of the regime's leadership." The elderly scientist studied both of them with concern. "But you too. The energy readings I'm getting from you are unprecedented. The synchronization has evolved beyond anything in our research." Reyes and Athena exchanged glances. There would be time later to understand the full implications of what they had become together. For now, they had a revolution to complete. The days that followed were a blur of activity. The resistance transitioned swiftly from fighting force to interim government. Athena's evidence was broadcast planet-wide, exposing the full extent of the regime's exploitation. Without the harvesting system to enforce compliance, the power structure crumbled. 1 week after the shutdown, Athena and Reyes stood on the observation platform of the resistance headquarters, watching as citizens reclaimed the capital city. The energy conduits that had once drained the population were being repurposed into a distributed power system, one that would draw from renewable sources rather than living beings. "Will you stay?" Athena asked, the question she had been avoiding for days. "On Dryalis. Help us rebuild." Reyes gazed at the alien horizon, so different from Earth's, yet becoming familiar. "I think I have to," he said finally. "Whatever we've become together, this synchronization, it's not just about biology anymore. We're connected in ways science probably can't explain." He turned to her. "Besides, I left Earth looking for purpose. Seems I found it across the stars." Athena took his hand, feeling the now familiar energy flow between them. No longer a desperate necessity for survival, but a chosen connection, strengthening them both. Dr. Valen says that with what we've learned from our synchronization, we can develop new energy technologies, truly sustainable ones that don't require harvesting. Hope colored her voice. Maybe even establish proper diplomatic relations with Earth eventually. "One revolution at a time," Reyes said with a smile, pulling her closer. From the platform, they could see all the way to the mountains where the resistance had hidden, and beyond to the plains where ordinary Dryalians were already experiencing life without the constant drain of the harvesting system. It wasn't perfect. Revolutions never immediately yielded paradise, but it was a beginning. "You know," Athena said thoughtfully, "there's a Dryalian saying, 'What burns brightest endures longest.'" Reyes looked down at their joined hands, at the subtle glow that still manifested when their energy synchronized. "Then I'd say we have a very long future ahead of us." As darkness fell over Dryalis, the night sky revealed both moons rising, casting dual shadows across the landscape. In the distance, a star flickered, Earth barely visible but present, a reminder of the journey that had brought them together. They had crossed space and faced death, transformed each other in ways neither could have imagined. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as they had from the beginning, together, drawing strength from a connection that defied the laws of two worlds. You're too deep in me now, Athena whispered, echoing her earlier fear, but now embracing the truth of it. And I wouldn't have it any other way.